you guess the most valuable NBA franchise? If you guessed the Golden State Warriors, you are correct. Sportico released their most valuable NBA franchise list that they do every year. Coming in at the top is the Golden State Warriors at $9.14 billion. This is a 10% increase from last year's valuation. For comparison, in 2020, the Golden State Warriors were the second most valuable franchise and they were at $5.21 billion. So they've almost doubled in 4 years. Did you know that in 2010, Joe Lacob and Peter Guber bought the Warriors for $450 million. Make it even more interesting, Joe Lacob was actually a minority partner for the Boston Celtics. Something else that I found interesting, as you can see at the bottom, is Larry Ellison, who is the Oracle CEO, was a candidate to buy the Warriors. The reason I found that interesting is because they used to play at Oracle Arena, so it would have been owned by the Oracle CEO. It ended up going to these two, and they have turned that franchise around. We're going to talk about the Knicks and the Lakers in a second, but let's finish off the Warriors. This is how valuable the Warriors are. At $9.14 billion, only the Dallas Cowboys are worth more among sports teams. That's not just the NBA, that's all sports teams. They are the second leader in the entire category. Now let's talk about the New York Knicks, who are second on the list at $8.3 billion. As I told you, in 2020, they were the #1 ranked team at $5.42 billion. As we know, James Dolan is the current owner, but his father was actually the owner before him. If you didn't know, Charles Dolan brought the Knicks and Rangers games onto cable in the 1970s. He also founded HBO and Cablevision. Talk about a legacy. And his son, James, was selling subscriptions, advertising time, and launched a sports radio in Cleveland before he ended up taking over in 1995. You're probably asking, how much did he pay for it and how did he get ownership of the Knicks? Well, in 1997, Cablevision bought out ITT Corp for $600 million, which gave the Dolans full control of the New York Knicks. 2 years later, he became the MSG chairman. In 2010, Cablevision spun off the Knicks, the Rangers, and other assets into Madison Square Garden Company, which we know today. Let's talk about the third most valuable franchise, the Lakers. How the ownership came to be is a pretty well-known story, but if you don't know, Jerry Buss, who is the father of Jeannie Buss, the current Lakers owner, bought the Lakers for $67.5 million. At that time, the Lakers were apparently only valued at $16 million. Can you imagine the Lakers, who are $8 billion worth? $16 million, that's crazy. As you can see by this chart, the NBA in general has the second highest average value. The NFL is at $5.93 billion, but the NBA is not far behind at 4.6. So these are the 2024 valued franchises in order. As you can see, the Brooklyn Nets made one of the biggest jumps, going to #4, which is up 9 places from last year. At the bottom of the chart, the Memphis Grizzlies are the least valuable franchise, which is still valuable, but they are the least out of the entire league. Cleveland Cavaliers and the Milwaukee Bucks have moved up 4 spots as well. Funny enough, in 2020, the Brooklyn Nets were actually the 4th rated NBA franchise as well, but that was when they got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, so it makes sense. But last year, the Boston Celtics were the 4th most valuable franchise instead of the Brooklyn Nets, who, again, I told you, moved up 9 spots. They were 13 last year. If we look at the bottom of the chart in 2020, the two that are still at the bottom are the Memphis Grizzlies and the New Orleans Pelicans. The only difference is Memphis is 30 and the Pelicans are 29, as in 2020, it's flipped. 5th on the list is the Los Angeles Clippers, and this makes a ton of sense for multiple reasons. Steve Ballmer is the owner, that alone adds value. But they also just built the new Intuit Dome, which, again, I still want to go visit because it looks crazy. It's supposedly state-of-the-art, they have all these cool features, and so obviously that's going to add value as well. And Steve Ballmer spares no expense. He will pay to have the best players he can. So of course, when you have Kawhi Leonard on the team, I know he's not playing, but he is always trying to get stars on the team to add value. So with these numbers, how high can we go? The league just signed that new TV deal, so you can only imagine the money and valuation has to keep going up. Again, 4 years ago, we were at an average of 2-something billion per team, and the most valuable franchise, again, was the New York Knicks at $5.4 billion or whatever it was. So in 4 years, these teams have almost doubled. Can they go to 15 in another 4 years, or 20? $20 billion as an NBA franchise? I think it just depends, because in recent NBA history, we've seen some sellings of NBA franchises. Maybe that's because the values of these teams have, doubled, tripled, quadrupled so fast that maybe these owners just want to take a profit. If you bought your franchise, let's say in 1990 for $200 million, and now your team is worth $5 billion, you have to imagine that's a crazy valuation. I'm sure there are some concerns about how high it can actually go. Where is the cutoff point?